What is it that makes these paintings so special? They just have that je ne sais quoi, that special something that's hard to describe, but you just know they have it. It's almost like when you look at them, it's like you enter another spiritual, rarefied dimension. They're just so dreamy and so captivating. But what is it about these paintings that make them so special? Hi everyone, welcome back to Rachel's Studio, where I like to focus on painting loose, soft, dreamy animals, but I do reserve the right to foray into other art adventures. And today I want to share with you my favorite insight that I've learned in the last year, maybe the last 5 years, and it's all thanks to James Gurney and his wonderful book, Imaginative Realism, and I was turned on to him by Tom Shepard, who also has a wonderful YouTube channel about painting animals, birds, and lots of beautiful loose paintings. So be sure to check out Tom Shepard's channel, and James Gurney has a channel. Your little sunflower painting, let me put you back. So be sure to check out the description below to links to all the artists I share today, and also links to free tutorials I have, all my favorite art supplies, and lots of other goodies. So whether you paint in oil, pastel, colored pencils, graphite, it doesn't matter even what your medium is, this will apply to anyone who does paintings or painting type artwork. So what the windmill principle does for us is it gives us a way to conceptualize how to design a painting, how to make the different values hang together. To help you understand the windmill principle, let's look at some of my older paintings that have no windmill principle in them. Massive fail when it comes to applying the windmill principle. Let's take a look at some of these.
One of the things that I didn't do in these paintings is that I didn't use a lot of variety of values within my subjects either. Now, of course, it's extremely obvious that all the backgrounds that I am showing in these pictures are very light. So there's no variety in the background and value. They're all light. One of the things that you may not notice is that also the values within the subjects, like these horses, they do have some light, darks, and mediums, but it's a lot of medium values. The same is true of this boy. Even more so, there's a lot of medium tones, very few darks, and very few lights in his body.
So what is the windmill principle? Inspired by Rembrandt. So James Gurney noticed in the painting by Rembrandt of the windmill, and he noticed that each blade of the windmill had different values. And also the background behind the windmill had different values, creating different pairings of values. So light blade against light background, dark blade against dark background, dark blade against light background, and light blade against dark background. And he had all four of those pairings. Now, I really do believe also that even if you can't get all those pairings in every single painting, if you try to at least get 3, you're doing really good. Like with my Parker painting, I don't have perfectly all those pairings, but that painting is a lot more effective than say some of these other paintings where I didn't get these value pairings in the painting. Let me show you. When I painted this picture of Parker, I didn't know the windmill principle, but this is one of my favorite paintings that I've done in the last year or two. And now I know why it's one of my favorite paintings, because I use the windmill principle. So here's little Parker, and notice all the different value pairings at the edges. There is light against dark. There's dark against dark. There's even medium against medium. And then there's light on light and dark on light. And there's medium on light there too. So I don't have all the pairings perfectly in this painting, but I've got a lot of them. And another thing that's really cool about this Rembrandt principle that I've been thinking about is it doesn't just apply to a large component like the whole person of Parker. It also applies to components within the painting like an eye. So you're not always going to be able to do this, but when you can figure out how to make your eyes have the windmill principle applied to them, have dark against dark, light against dark, dark against light, light against light, you can really make your paintings go up the next level. Same with noses, ears. This also applies to landscapes. Check out this beautiful painting by Chang Kua. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably totally butchering it. He is from Taiwan, but look at some of the components in this painting and how he applied the Rembrandt windmill principle to some of the smaller components that he really wants to add a zhuzh factor. By the way, be sure to check out my zhuzh video if you haven't seen that yet. for more ways to zhuzh up your paintings, but this Rembrandt principle will definitely zhuzh up your painting. But anyway, but see the building in this painting? It has a very white roof against a dark background. And then it has a dark, like the dark parts of the barn are up against darker parts of the background. He has a little bit lighter area behind that roof. It's not perfectly light on light, so you can really use that to pop out important aspects of your painting too. And even the mountain in this painting, now that I look at it, there's dark against light. There's light against light up there at the top. There's dark against dark where it attaches towards the bottom of the mountain. The only one that I really don't see is light against dark, but he used all those, he used 3 of the 4 value pairings to incorporate that mountain into the painting, like a genius that he is. I would be remiss not to show you a painting by Liu Yi from China. And I am such a huge fan of his work, and I never knew why until now, but look at all the beautiful value pairings. By the way, when you pair a light against light pairing, it makes that edge disappear like a dream. Maybe that's why it's so dreamy to have these pairings, especially the light against light and the dark against dark. And look how beautiful he does that along this ballerina's back, where he has the light of her back against the light of the background. And it just makes a disappearing edge that is so dreamy and so beautiful. And of course, he has light against dark, dark against light, especially in her hair. I also want to show you how you can use this to conceptualize how to paint abstracts, because abstracts can be really tricky and you really have to understand design and composition to paint a successful abstract. So there's a lot that goes into an abstract, but one of the things that goes into it is to have all these value pairings. Let's look at a painting by my dear friend, Lauren Bolshakov, and look at all her value pairings that she has. I just love this piece. I love so many of her pieces, but look, she has light against light. She has that little dark triangle that creates so many opportunities to get all the value pairings. She has a dark against light. What a beautiful painting. And it's so dreamy. You just feel like you're in a haze of dreaminess when you look at these paintings. Again, let's look at one of my paintings. And I wasn't painting with the Rembrandt principle in mind, but I noticed towards the end of the painting, when I start my tinkering phase, where you take away things, you put things in, maybe you take them back out, put them back in, you tinker. And one of the things that I did to tinker at the end of this painting was I thought about the Rembrandt principle. I wish I would have thought it when I was designing it at the beginning, because I could have made it an even stronger composition, but I didn't. But anyway, so with this apple head painting, I noticed that I didn't have any light on dark, light of the cat against dark of the background. So I added that in the bottom of the cat's chest area. And it was so easy to do too. And it made it kind of match the background on the other side of the cat. So I put that on, and that gave me another one of the pairings. And I think that made this a stronger painting.
Not sure where to put your various value pairings? There are some general rules that can help. You want to put your high contrast pairings, light against dark and dark against light, in the areas where you want the viewer to look. In portraits, that would be the lit side of the face typically. Put your dark on dark and light on light edges in shadow areas and less important parts of the painting, such as the lower body. So let's look at a few of my paintings so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is a painting I did of a young Japanese woman that I saw in Japan when I was over there on a trip. And so I've got a lot of the value pairings here. And notice where I made the most high contrast value pairings are in her face, the light against dark of the building. So that building really helped me pop out the most important features in her face. And then in less important areas, like the bottom of her hairline in the back of her head, the dark of the building almost merges completely with the dark of her hair. And then also her dress is done really lightly against that light background and in similar colors too. So similar values and similar colors down in her dress. So there's lots of light on light edges down in that area. So again, in general, the light on light and the dark on dark areas are best put usually in less important areas. All right, this is about an 11 by 14 painting I did with my students on Patreon. So if you do join my Patreon, you can watch this from beginning to end with complete voiceover, downloadable reference, and line drawing, along with from 60 to 90 other tutorials that you will get instant access to. But anyway, the light on light area is her hair, and that's not a very important area. So I thought that made her look really dreamy to have that light hair area on the light background. Then I have dark hair against light background, and also her shoulder has a really dark area, and that line kind of leads the eye, the curve of her shoulder kind of leads the eye up to the face, and so that dark on light contrast there really helps the viewer's eye move through the painting and up to her face. So I think that's a good way to use these high contrast pairings too, is on lines that lead the viewer's eye to the area you want them to look. And then of course I've got the edge of her face is dark against the dark of her hair, and also the shirt and the lower chest area is a dark on dark area. So that's how I used value pairings to kind of help move the viewer's eye through the painting. And then I love how Liu Yi used these high contrast pairings in areas on lines that help the viewer's eye go back up to the main area of interest, which is the lady's face. And the most high contrast he has is her very dark black hair against the very light background in the bottom of her hairline, and that helps the viewer's eye know to look in that area. And then that line to the right of her dress, and then the super dark background there, and that line is pointing the viewer's eye towards her face. So that's a very effective use of high contrast edges because it helps the viewer's eye move up through the painting back up to the face. And of course, as a side note, the hands also point at the face, and that helps the viewer know to move around that circle almost created by the arms, the dark arms against the light of her skirt. And that is a high contrast area, and it leads you up through the hands and back to the face. And then there's her light forehead kind of against the light of the background is really pretty. And also the curve of her dress. The bottom of the hem is a curved line that also leads the eye, if you follow that curved line, back up to the ballerina's face. So that's a high contrast area from a light on dark pairing that is really effective at helping the viewer's eye move through the painting. So the high contrast pairings are used around the area that you want the viewer to look at, and also along lines that will help the viewer's eye move through the painting towards the most interesting part of the painting, which is, in this case, the face. And then the light on light areas and dark on dark areas are usually in shadow areas, like he used a dark on dark area under her right foot. And that is a very unimportant area of the painting. So he made that a dark on dark edge very effectively. And it just tells the viewer's eye, this is not important, move along. And then the light on light areas are just really nice. And they're in areas of the ballerina's body, for the most part, like her back and along her leg, that are less important areas. Those are just some general rules for where to help you figure out where should I put these pairings. So you're not just totally just guessing and just doing it randomly.
And until next time, go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody.